Hello and welcome to the Daily Move for Thursday, the 16th of December 2021. Now, yesterday, the FA Youth Cup game, was played between Sheffield United and Millwall at Bramall Lane. It was a late one. It went on a bit because it went to extra time and penalties on the night. And I'm sad to say that the Mill under-18s narrowly lost. It was a valiant effort. They did really well, and let's see how they go on. So this is from millfc.co.uk. It's the official match report from the official club website. Young Lions suffer shootout heartbreak. Sheffield United knock under-18s out of FA Youth Cup. Mill suffered a cruel 6-5 defeat on penalties after pushing the Blades all the way at Bramall Lane. Tom Leahy's magical 87th minute equaliser forced the game to extra time, but neither side could nick a winner, and the match was decided from the spot after finishing 1-1. The Lions fought valiantly throughout and were the first to create an opening. Leahy got the better of his man down the right channel and pulled the ball back to Zach Lovelace, whose first time shot was deflected narrowly wide and behind for a corner. Mill started the stronger of the two teams and even had the ball in the back of the net, but Lovelace's finish was chalked off by the linesman. The near scare was a wake-up call for the hosts, who retaliated and created a couple of opportunities before the break. The first, a sneaker goal for Antoine Ackford, who looked to have beat Kyle Smith for pace, but the Lions defender recovered to block the eventual strike. 5 minutes from the break, Ryan Hammond displayed his goalkeeping quality. A Sheffield United corner was met by the head of Sai Sachdev, and somehow Hammond acrobatically stopped the effort and did enough to get back up to his feet and make sure the following shot could only hit the post. The game began to open up in the second half, and the Blades found the opening with 18 minutes left to play. CD Peck adjusted his body and nodded the ball into the beckoning net after being found by substitute Curtis Kavanagh. As the clock ticked on, it seemed the game would slip out of reach, but Tom Leahy had other ideas. The tricky youngster completely outfoxed his marker, cut inside and wrapped a stunning curling effort in off the post from outside the area to force the game to extra time. The home side created the better of the chances in the subsequent extra half hour. Kavanagh specifically had two glorious opportunities: a whip slow ball into the area, fizzed across the 6-yard box, but the forward couldn't stretch enough to make contact and tap it into the net. Just 13 minutes before the shootout, the attacker popped up again. Having beat the offside trap he had just Hammond to beat. However, he swung at the ball and lacked composure, and his attempt trickled into the keeper's arms. The penalties got off to a perfect start, with George Dickinson and Zach Lovelace netting for their respective teams. Romain SA fired home after Charlie Stanley blazed over to give Mill the advantage. Chin Ockley could have won it for the Lions with the fifth, but Callum Hiddleston made his first of 3 saves in the shootout to set Sheffield United on their way. After Billy Blacker scored United 6, the pressure was on Oliver Evans to score. Unfortunately, Hiddleston dived the right way and won the game for Sheffield United, setting up a 4th round trip to Everton. And the team was Hammond, Smith, Adam Maliki, Cotton, Ockley, Stevenson, Walker, Esse, Lovelace, Hefzala and Leahy. And the subs were Oliver Evans, who come on in the 119th minute. Oh, did they specifically bring him on to take a penalty? Well, it seems a bit weird that they would. I don't think they did, because he took the 6th one. So that they won't bring him on to take a penalty and then make him come 6th. So don't think it was that. Coleman came on the 81st minute for Cotton. Cheeseman came on for Stevenson in the 92nd minute. Massey came on for Hefzala in the 65th minute. The unused subs were G. Evans and Amuchin. So there you go. We've also got the news report from news@zen.co.uk. We'll see if there's any more information. I think it's basically just the same stuff. Yeah, it's the same stuff, basically. But what really pisses me off, right? Really pisses me off is the game was broadcast live on YouTube. The fantastic YouTube. It's great for this kind of thing. Sheffield United was showing it on YouTube. Nobody told me. Nobody told me. If I could have found this out before, I would have told you, and then we all could have watched it live. But if you go to Sheffield United FC on YouTube, the user's called Sheffield U, the letter U Tube. But if you search for Sheffield United, you'll be able to find it. There's 2 highlights from the game, a 5-minute one and a 7-minute one, and there is also the whole replay of the whole match, 3 hours long. So if you're that way inclined, you want to jump on that and just click through it and watch it. But it really pisses me off because the club did a preview. They spoke to him with McAvoy before the game. They had him on audio on a piece on their website, but then they say, oh, we're going to be live tweeting the match. Now maybe they didn't know either, but what Sheffield United, why don't they want people to watch this? The marketing is shit. You need to tell people that this is happening so we can watch it. Get on the forums, contact Dan at Lions TV, get him to tell all the Millwall fans this is on YouTube, you can watch it. Get him to do maybe he's too busy, but get him to do a watch along. Why not? But yeah, I don't know, it really pisses me off when the games are on YouTube, these kind of under 23 games or under 18 games, and nobody says anything. It's like a hidden secret, like secret club. Tell people. Marketing 101. Freaking tell people. Come on, please. But anyway, after the fact, if you want to see the game, you can see the game is still on there. And there's 2 sets of highlights. It really was like end-to-end stuff. And Millwall's goal from Lee was a screamer. All Lee he scores are screamers. All the goals he scores are absolutely amazing goals. Yeah, and the keeper Hammond, very, very good, very, very good. He made some decent saves, to be honest with you. But just narrowly losing on penalties. What can you do? What can you do? So let's move on now to this. We got an update about the COVID situation in the squad. So what's happening? So Gary Rowett's been speaking, I assume, remotely to to the press. And what's he saying? So Millwall's Gary Rowett gives details on COVID outbreak after Preston North End game called off. And this is from newsend.co.uk. Gary Rowett revealed the number of COVID cases among the playing squad and staff, causing Saturday's scheduled game against Preston North End to be called off is in double figures. So 10 or more. Rowett said most players were experiencing mild symptoms and the training ground will be closed for at least the remainder of this week. The den was also set to be closed with staff working from home where possible. Supporters were to have to show new proof of entry requirements at stadiums this weekend after the government introduced new restrictions due to fears over the spread of the Omicron variant. The Lions' next scheduled championship fixture is at home to Swansea on Boxing Day. Millwall had games against Bournemouth and Watford postponed this month last year, and Rowett missed games against Preston and Huddersfield after he'd contracted COVID, his coaching staff missing the latter game. We're in a situation where we've had a number of player positive cases, a number of staff positive cases, a number of under 23 positive cases, Rowett told News at 10. As the week's gone on, each day has added players and staff to that. It's been a difficult one because at first you think you can manage some numbers not being there, but then you realise actually we've got quite a serious case. I think it could well be into double figures. The difficulty is you want to crack on and play games of football. I'm sure we're all fed up of calling games off with COVID, games not going on and whatnot, but we've clearly got a bit of an epidemic at the club at the moment, and we just need to make sure we're all safe. I think most of the players have fairly mild symptoms, but it just clearly shows that this new variant is more transmissible and has certainly moved through the club pretty quickly. We'll have to close the training ground for a period of time, 4 or 5 days, to make sure we can eradicate it. We take our responsibility seriously and we have to try and make sure we do our bit. Try and stop it at the source and have a good clean up of the training ground. Then potentially We will come back in small groups. The players who have tested positive will be out and away for the club for 10-day period. It's not ideal, it's not what you want, but we have to accept it looks as though it's going to be a little bit more prevalent throughout football. The Premier League have had quite a few positive cases, so clearly football is no different from the rest of society, and unfortunately I think we're going to get a few more cases in the next few weeks and months. Indeed, today the Premier League postponed another 4 matches, so a lot of games being hit by this kind of thing, especially in the south of the country. So what's happening? Well, you know that the EFL put out a statement. It's the EFL statement. They put this out today. In light of the increased transmission rate of the COVID-19 Omicron variant, the EFL has moved to implement a regime of enhanced training ground protocols, increased testing, and has provided updated guidance on the minimum number of available players that are required to fulfill a fixture. All 72 clubs will now be required to implement enhanced red protocols for the first team training settings. Social distancing measures will be required outside of physical sessions, along with restrictions to the use of indoor facilities, manual therapy, and group travel, amongst others. And they got a list of all the protocols there. They've got to do daily screening program of testing subject to supply chain availability of lateral flow tests. Any person with a positive test of symptoms will then be required to take a PCR test and isolate in line with government guidance. In respect to the screening program, the EFL will not be providing a weekly aggregate number of tests undertaken and the number of positive results. That's what they did last time. They said, oh, this is how many tests we had. This is how many people were positive, and they never told you who it was or which club, but you could kind of figure out what certain players were missing, and they just said sickness. He just had, well, it's obviously him. The EFL will confirm the circumstances where positive tests lead to a postponement of a fixture. In the wake of recent EFL fixture postponements due to COVID-19 cases at the clubs, the EFL has provided guidance on non-fulfilment of fixtures, confirming that clubs will be expected to play where it has 14 players, including a goalkeeper, available from the club's registered squad list. Under 21 players not on the squad list but have played one league match, or any other contracted player not on the squad list but otherwise would have been eligible to play, the EFL will assist clubs in their deliberations. So there you go. So the clubs need to put out a list at the start of the season, 25 players, I think. That's what it was in the Premier League, I believe. So they needed to do that, and that's their first team squad. And then they can have other players. So if you got 14 players, you got to play, even if 2 of them are a goalkeeper, which I think one club this weekend did have 2 goalkeepers on the bench. I don't remember who that was, but I remember hearing on the radio someone said, oh, they had two keepers on the bench. What are you going to do? You got to do. I don't understand the rationale behind that. That's one of them is half decent as an outfield player, or maybe you just play him up front as a target man. I don't really know what you can do. So some keepers pretty decent footballers, but some of them are absolute pony. But if you have him on the bench and you probably say, well, you're an outfield player for this game, and only in dire circumstances, if someone gets injured, you're not going to be a chosen substitute, only if someone is injured. So there you have it, 14 players, including a goalkeeper. But see, if all your goalkeepers are out, then they'll let you postpone the game. But if you've got 14 players and one goalkeeper, crack on. You crack on. Then you have to have an outfield player on the subs bench as an emergency goalkeeper who can come in if they get injured or sent off or whatever. Yeah, and then they got these numbers about vaccinations. The latest vaccine data collected for November has shown that 75% of players across the EFL are either fully vaccinated, have had one jab, or intend to be vaccinated. Double vaccinated players total 59%, and 16% are set to get the jab. Well, when? this has been available for like over a year now. Like, they still didn't get it. Like, if you haven't got it by now, surely you don't want to get it. And it says 25% of players currently do not intend to get a vaccine. And then they got the EFL's medical advisor, Dr. Richard Higgins, says, so he says this thing at the bottom: we know that getting double jabbed and boosted now will reduce the risk of getting seriously ill or dying from COVID-19. Apparently that is correct. Reduce the risk of catching or spreading COVID-19 among teammates and loved ones. Well, no, not really. That's up in the air. I don't think so. If you are vaccinated with 2 vaccines, even with the booster, you can catch COVID-19 and you can transmit COVID-19. All the vaccine does is, it's not even a vaccine. All that does is it protects you from getting ill. So it will stop the vaccine affecting you. But it won't stop it from infecting you. It will infect you, but it won't affect you. If you can understand what I'm saying there. But you can still catch it and spread it. That's proven beyond doubt there. So I don't know what he's saying there, but there you go. Yeah, the EFL are shutting the stable door after the horse has bolted. Maybe a bit late, but they are reacting to the situation at hand. I don't know why they didn't have the foresight to think, well, Omicron's coming. There are infections in the country where the EFL and football clubs are. It will affect you as well. You're not going to not be infected. You were affected before, and you're going to get affected again. But they seem to be reacting. Going back to the situation it was before, where all the players have a whole list of rules and regulations that they have to follow. One of the ones there's a training outdoors. I hope I hope it doesn't get really, really cold, because that could be bad. So let's have a look at this. I'm sick of all that COVID shit now. Let's have a look at this. This is a statement from the chairman. Every month he's been doing like a little statement. Again, it's like the 17th of December. We're near the end of the month now. We're past the halfway point of the month. And he's put out a statement, and they seem to be getting later and later. So what's happening there? So an update from the CEO, Steve Kavanagh's latest column. So this is from millfc.co.uk. What's he saying? I'm writing to you off the back of the news of the postponement of Saturday's game against Preston North End following a very sudden and swift outbreak of COVID-19 within the club. As the week progressed, it became very clear that not only will we not have anywhere near enough players to field a team, but more importantly, that it was imperative the training ground, academy building and certain offices at the Den would have to close immediately to help stop any further spread. Thankfully, as noted in our statement yesterday, from those who have returned positive results, only a small percentage are experiencing any symptoms at all, and of those who are, they are mild. I'm not an epidemiologist by any stretch, but our experience of the new variant is that it is clearly highly transmissible, but the health effects are less than we've seen previously, and our hopes, of course, is that this proves to be the case for the wider community. Staff at the Den have been busy implementing the necessary strategic and logistical plans to carry out the COVID checks legally enforced upon us as part of the government's Plan B response. The postponement means we won't be able to test those until Boxing Day visit of Swansea City, and given the challenges they have presented to the club, I'll politely ask supporters to please work with us to ensure checks are swift and efficient. Clearly, they have provided the club with a range of different issues, not just logistically but also financially, though as we have said throughout, we will only ever enforce what we are mandated to do. Ultimately, our main aim is to ensure that fans can continue to attend matches without any restrictions on capacity, and if such measures ensure that continues to be the case, then so be it as far as I'm concerned. So let me repeat that. Ultimately, our main aim is to ensure that fans can continue to attend matches without any restrictions on capacity. So like I told you in yesterday's video about Carlisle United have reduced their capacity to 9,000 whatever to get around the rules. They're bending the rules so they don't have to do all the checks. He seemed to be saying we want to fill the Den, and why not? Because if you got a negative test or you've been double vaccinated and you've downloaded the COVID pass and you can present that at the turnstile at the Den, you can come in. So why can't we're not going to do any restrictions ourselves, and we don't want the government bringing any number of restrictions in terms of like 50% capacity or whatever it was before, which when we had those 2 matches with 2,000 people in the stand, which was a bit weird. But so they seem to be saying no restrictions on capacity. We want match days at the Den to be as safe and secure as possible. So if you are not vaccinated and or can't present COVID certification, please do take your lateral flow test as the alternative to help in those endeavours. Clearly, the spread of this strain is a risk not just to Christmas and beyond, but also to the economy, and it is therefore incumbent on every one of us to do what we can to ensure our safety and that of family, friends, fellow fans, and more. Our latest release containing all the updated information around entry requirements is available to read by clicking here. Click. Prior to the new regulations being put into place, we were already encouraging all attending, even if fully vaccinated, to undertake lateral flow tests to help minimise any spread of the virus on match days. Nothing has changed in that regard, and if anything, the latest case numbers just serve to reinforce the importance of that. It should be standard practice. We all know what football without supporters was like, so let's work together to prevent that from happening again. Continuing to play games and have crowds in attendance is vitally important to the financial wealth and indeed the future of clubs up and down the country. Many stadiums, including the Den, are also hospitality venues, and crucial revenue streams have already been decimated in the past week or so. The Christmas party, did that already take place? Or did they have to cancel that? That was happening this week, wasn't it? I don't know. It is imperative that the industry receives some support, and if there are any additional restrictions put into place later down the line, then the government should remember the important role football has played throughout the pandemic in so many ways and not risk the very existence of many community assets. We've recently published our annual accounts for the year to June 2021. Losses in those accounts are at an all-time high. As you would have expected, having played so many games without crowds in that period, and indeed the cost of different COVID related measures that were required, the club was saddled with nearly £8 million worth of new debt directly attributable to the pandemic, which must be repaid over the next 3 years. You don't need to be an accountant to understand the lasting cash impact this can have on the club. Wow. Damn. So there's your transfer budget out of the window, Gary Rowett. Let's bring those youth players in, eh? As chief executive, I'll personally like to thank John Berylson for his immeasurable support of the club, especially during the past 18 months. Without him, I'm generally not sure where we would be today. I know supporters will also join me in sharing their gratitude for his ongoing commitments. Moving away from discussing COVID, which I'm very relieved to do, the other huge talking point of recent weeks has been the publication of Tracy Crouch, MP, fan-led review of football governance. So I met with Tracy as part of the EFL's strategic review into the findings of her report, and am broadly supportive of its findings, though I would add that a few points need additional depth or clarity. Some of the report's key recommendations, such as enhanced financial regulation and adherence to governance, have always been hugely important. If those areas can be enhanced and properly enforced, then that is a huge positive for the game. The redistribution of wealth is also imperative, but this all must work together in order to be properly effective. It is abundantly clear that one without the other will not work. Criticism of the report, most notably from individuals at Premier League clubs, has sadly only served to reinforce the purpose of the report in the first place, as well as much of its content. There are plenty of recommendations around involvement of supporters within club structures and suggestion of golden share. The report presents a series of really good ideas around the involvement of fans, and as a club we're absolutely committed to maximising engagement in this area in every possible way. We have already commenced our own view into what we will do now and where we can improve, and we will look at how we incorporate the recommendations made along the way. In my last column I spoke extensively about the purchase of land in West Kingsdown for a new high-end training complex, and I'm pleased to say that the process is progressing as well as we could have hoped. We have since hosted another engagement meeting with local residents and also appointed expert advisors in other key areas, including planning and highways. Our aim is to submit a formal planning application in the spring, and we will keep supporters informed of notable updates as and when they occur. Crucially, the Community Trust has already commenced works within the areas local to the site. A dedicated officer is in the process of being appointed to oversee the different projects and initiatives that will be implemented, and we're pleased that such efforts have already been started in a handful of schools. We're looking to expand this alongside engaging local football clubs as well as Browns Hatch and London Golf Club, who are situated nearby, and of course the wider community. As has been the case in Lewisham and Southwark for many years, our aim is to become a real community asset for the people of West Kingsdown, and that is a target which our absolute focus and commitment. I would like to take this opportunity to publicly congratulate Shona Groves for winning Supporter Liaison Officer of the Year at the FSA Awards recently. Shona is naturally a very modest person, and she'll have no doubt been a bit embarrassed by the attention she has since received, but the award is something she is truly deserving of. The majority of Shona's time as our Supporter Liaison Officer has been throughout the pandemic, when successful fan engagement has been often so complex and challenging, but nothing has even deterred her, and I know so many of you will have benefited from her passion, dedication and expertise. Shona is a tremendous part of a tremendous workforce behind the scenes at the Den, and as a collective they continue to jump over the many different hurdles put in their way, whether it's new COVID regulations or general day-to-day issues. I couldn't be any more prouder to represent them, and I'd like to thank all the staff for their immense efforts over the course of the past 12 months. I would also like to express our gratitude to each and every one of you for your wonderful support. We missed you terribly last season, and football has only felt normal and exciting again since you came back. Long may it continue. I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Look after yourselves and be lucky. Steve Kavanagh. So there you go. That was a long one. We're going to finish up now. So tickets for the Crystal Palace game, they were supposed to go on sale today for the members. I've seen quite a few people online saying, "Well, what's happening?" I'm on the site, 9 AM. I woke up early. I rearranged my day to make sure I could get online at this time to buy a ticket, and it's not letting me. There's a reason for that. The ticket office is closed because of COVID. Remember that? Told you yesterday, and I told you today. Just told you. So they pushed the date back. The ticket office is closed until Monday, so that's when they pushed the date back for members to buy their ticket for this game, the Crystal Palace FA Cup third round game at the Den. All they've done is edited this, so it says here, tickets will go on sale to members from 9:30 AM on Monday the 20th of December, who can purchase a maximum of 2 tickets, priced at £33 adults, £23 over 62. Jesus, tickets kind of crept up there, isn't they? 33 quid. Jesus. See, the original date here, season ticket holders have until 9 AM to claim their usual seat. That's because they were going to sell them to members. But I don't know if you're a season ticket holder and you didn't get that in time. I don't know if you can still buy your original seat. I don't know if that's possible. If they push that back until the 20th as well. But there you go. What are we doing here? So yeah, it says here. It says at the end, owing to the postponement of the Sky Bet Championship fixture against Preston, the ticket office being closed till Monday, the selling period for members has been pushed back. So that's what's happened there, yeah. So if you're trying to figure that out, go on there and buy a ticket, and you're trying to figure out, well, what's happening here? Is my membership not good enough? Am I a different kind of member? No. They pushed it back till Monday the 20th, so you're gonna have to get up early again. 9:30 on Monday the 20th, if you're interested in that. Yep. So there you go, that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching and goodbye.